Hello YouTube and all ships at sea. It's Steven the Mini Scratcher bringing you another quality video. Yeah. Oh, yeah. What you're looking at right now is another build for the for my diorama. This one I'm kind of proud of. Oddly enough, I've got some cleaning up to do on it, so then I can therefore munge it up, get a little dirty. I know it doesn't make any sense, but you know what in this business really does. Okay, I went with kind of a retro look on this. The color's probably not coming out quite as clearly as it should in the camera, but the top half is seafoam green and the bottom half is Kelly green. I thought that would give it a nice retro look to go along with the insignia here, which I've had some cleanup work to do on that. Oh, stop. Focus, focus. Focus, minion, focus. All right. There we go. All I had to do was let go of it. And I wanted the lid to be partially open. And again, what is stopping this from being completed is a hinge. What is it with me and hinges? I don't know. I know how to do it. I know how to do it. I have the materials to do it. I have the tools to do it. I just find it hard to jump right in and start doing it. But anyway, I wanted some inside texture since the lid was going to be partially open. You can see the little icy looking interior, like it really needs to be defrosted badly. That was accomplished using cotton balls soaked down with diluted PVA, then pushed into place, and then covered with a layer of a texturing agent known as Snowtex, which gives it that lumpy, bumpy, crystally kind of texture that you would expect to see in a freezer. And of course it's going to get splashed with blood on the inside. That's, you know, it's just part of the deal. So that one is what I'm kind of proud of. Still a work in progress, but hey, you know, pretty much life is a work in progress, is it not? Sure. Okay, last video I promised you that I would let you in on a couple of things, the way I build them. I want to start with something that really had me excited. The weekend before last, I made a major roadside find. I found a couch cushion that had fallen out of somebody's vehicle, I suppose, I presume. They never came back to fetch it, so I snatched that puppy up. There were two of them out there. I just snatched one. It's like a meter square and about 16 centimeters thick. I have got enough foam ground up and some of it colored enough to fill a gallon container. And this is following directions I found from the RubbishInRubbishOut YouTube channel. Viv over there, good guy, real good guy, knows what he's doing. That's another thing that just amazes me is the people in the terrain building community. And I'm not saying anything bad against the model train people, because they're great too, and the model car builders, they're awesome. But there's just something special about this terrain building community. People who are actually doing this sort of thing and making money off of it are willingly sharing information, techniques, how-tos. It's amazing. It really amazes me. And just a great group of people, and I couldn't ask to be in better company. I really couldn't. Even though I'm not a war gamer and don't do wargaming terrain, of course that might change in the future, you never can tell. It just amazes me, and I'm very happy to be around such people. Okay. Now, again, we'll do a comparison here. I don't know how well this comparison will show up, but to me, to my eyes, there is a visible difference in the size of the grind. Over here we have the regular meat grind, or what I call a medium grind, and this is the fine grind. And actually in the video that I learned from RubbishInRubbishOut, he was looking for a way to get an even finer grind out of his. Now the larger grind that I showed you as a comparison was using his technique. Now I had an idea, an inspiration struck me. What would make a blender do a better job? Well, more surface area, more blades. Well, I didn't have an option of more blades, but I did have an option of adding more surface area. And how was I going to do that? I added ice. That's right, ice. And my logic behind that, in the beginning it was just a theory, and it turned out it worked very well, is that when the blades are moving, they're hitting the foam, and about every third pass it might actually cut into the foam. I mean, the blades are moving at high speed, and they're going to cut, but they're not going to cut efficiently because as they're cutting, they're moving the foam out of the way. Well, how do you prevent that from happening? How do you get a more solid contact between the blade and the foam? Well, put something in between the blade and the foam, a piece of ice. So that way the foam is here, blade comes down, it hits the foam, giving a better, more efficient cut, and therefore every pass equals more cuts equals a finer grind. And so that's my secret, that's my tip. I'm kind of proud of myself because I haven't seen anybody else do this or think about this, at least not presented on YouTube. There might be a forum out there somewhere with that idea in it, but I would think with the amount of research that goes on in this community trying to make a better product, somebody would have come along and found that if it existed. So correct me if I'm wrong, correct me if somebody else has already come up with this, but at this point I'm enjoying being proud of myself for coming up with an original idea that actually might help out somebody else that does their own stuff instead of going to a store and paying for it. I've got some examples of some of the clump foliage that I've already colored. And if you give me just a minute here. Okay. Yeah, I make funny little noises and little songs and such as I go along. Alright, we'll get this out of the way. And here we have an example of a light green clump foliage, what I call a medium green, and a dark green. It's hard to get all these in the same frame there. And of course my lighting sucks. I'm sorry, folks. I don't do this for a living, so I do what I can, and I'm always open to suggestions and hints and what have you. So please feel free to add those in the comments if you like. So there we go. That's what I got going on. Is it moisture in my bottle? No, it's just a deformation in the plastic. Okay. So, and I've even mixed all three of these in a smaller bottle. I don't have it at hand right now, but yeah, instead of going and spending $12 for a good sized container, a little bit bigger than this, for $12, $13, at least here in the U.S. I'm not sure what it is over in the UK or God forbid in the halfway around the world. I'm sure it's quite expensive, but anything to make my let's see, I'm getting my tongue tangled around my eye teeth and can't see what I am saying. Oh, Lord help me. But yeah, my motto is cheap is great, free is better. That's why I collect containers. I collect stuff from the side of the road. I collect stuff out of the backyard. I mentioned before about getting my materials from nature a lot, and I do a lot. But I also scavenge materials from disposable stuff, or what most people would consider to be disposable stuff. Now, do I do this out of any great conscience for the welfare of the planet? Not necessarily. I mean, that's not a bad thing to help out the planet, but just out of a sense of common sense conservancy, I guess, for lack of a better phrase. So that's where I stand with that. Yeah. Okay, on to the next little bit of something or other. Of course, it's way over here. Yeah. I have finally made my static grass applicator. Yes, out of the electronic fly swatter thing. she ain't pretty, but she worked good. So, as witnessed thusly. Yeah, see, she works good. And unfortunately, my little experiment with using sisal fiber, I'm guessing that's how it's pronounced, it came up with naught. It did not work well. And this is the sisal fiber I was using, which I got 19.8 grams for $1, which this I thought could be used as static grass because it's very thin, very light, but it is a natural element. Okay, it's not a synthetic material like real static grass is. So therefore, it's denser, and it holds a little bit of a static charge. You can see some static influence on it, but it does not hold enough of a charge to do what a static grass is supposed to do. So, yeah, but I can still use it to make clumps. I have to do it by hand, but that's okay. I've got this unopened package up here. Again, $1 at a local dollar store. And I have a bag here that I have dyed a happy medium green with some light highlights in it. There, as you can see. Or maybe you can't see. I don't know. I'm looking through the camera here, and you may have an issue with that. But anyway, I thought about go ahead and purchasing static grass, and that just makes my butt hurt. I'm sorry. I can't wrap my head around paying for something that I know for a fact, if I find the right materials, I can make myself. It just gripes me. So, what was I going to say? Oh yes, alternative artist. If you haven't already, please check out her channel. She has got some great ideas on DIY stuff, some backyard, items to use for your build, for your terrain. And she is a wargaming terrain person. So that's her gig. But she has a great video on how to make DIY static grass, and using what I'm assuming is some kind of rayon or polyester, some sort of synthetic material, a party wig, and actually cutting the strands and using acrylic paint, which is what I do with the sisal fibers, using acrylic paint to dye them. And she doesn't have a static grass applicator. She's having to do basically what I'm doing at this time, which is manually applying the stuff. But I think it being a synthetic fiber, it should take a charge from the static grass applicator nicely. So, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. And yeah, I love people like alternative artists because, again, it's sharing that knowledge, sharing those techniques that you can find if you search hard enough, but all that's in one place. Just a handful of people. Anyway, I'm not here to sell you on that. Alternative artist is the username on YouTube. Just remember that. And as I've said before, mentioned before, using natural elements. The stuff in this bottle came from my backyard. There's very small leaves in there that I intend to use for vines that will be crawling up the side of the house and crawling up the side of the hanging tree. And why are they floating in this bottle of liquid? Well, this bottle of liquid is about half and half mixture of water and glycerin. Now, why would I soak it in this? Well, the simple answer is this will preserve it. And also it's going to choke to death any bad stuff in there. Again, I cannot impress upon you how important it is, if you're going to use natural elements in your builds, before you bring stuff into the house, make sure you're not bringing in any harmful insects, or harmful critters of any kind, because they can sneak up and they can hide in stuff very easily. So you want to make sure that you have all that out, kind of sort through your stuff before you bring it in the house. And preserve it. Preserve it so it'll stay green, it'll stay lush. What the glycerin does is it replaces the water inside the plant material. So I have to let this set for a week, so this should be done by next Saturday. So that's what's going on with that. And my wonderful wife, God bless her, she brought in some moss for me that she found while she was out gardening. That's another one of her hobbies. We raise chickens, and we're doing our own little home garden thing. Not trying to be hippies, you understand. I'm just trying to cut some costs here and there. So there's that. All right. And yes, I promised you I was going to tell you how I made a shrubbery. Yes, a shrubbery. Adjust the little camera here just a tad bit. Okay, as I mentioned before, this is nothing more than, what did I do with it now? Oh yes, than reindeer moss. And you can see there's some wonderful branch-like pieces in there. And I just separate those pieces out into appropriate sized, shaped, whatever. And I just added some paint to them. For my purposes, I'm going with more of a monochromatic feel for my diorama. So everything is pretty much dying or dead except for the ugly, tough stuff that survives droughts and everything else. So there's going to be a lot of dead grass and dead leaves about and whatever. And so I paint the branches, the moss, a bark brown acrylic paint. And I do some overbrushing and a little bit of dry brushing and what have you. Nothing major, nothing that's too distracting, because like I said, I want to keep it on this monochromatic feel. Alright, once those branches are nice and dry and ready to be leafed, I smoke. Yes, I smoke. I know it's a nasty, nasty habit, and it will kill me one day, but hell, what won't kill you these days? As all of us smokers are fond of saying. And because I'm a cheap tightwad type person, I roll my own cigarettes. Now, the rolling device I use gets clogged very easily by the small bits of tobacco. It does fine with the large strands of tobacco, not so good with the small bits of tobacco. And I thought to myself, instead of ruining my rolling machine and wasting a bunch of rolling papers, maybe I could put these little bits and pieces, these little byproducts to use. And I use them as leaves for my shrubbery. I don't know how well you can see that there, but I mean, it's the same concept as using your spices or whatever to make leaves for your shrubbery. But for my purposes and my scale, this works great. And these particular shrubs I have plans for on the diorama to be on the back side of the diorama. Oh my goodness. There's going to be a 3-strand barbed wire fence at the back of the diorama. And these shrubberies will be along that fence line, along with some of those tree armatures that I've shown you before that came out of the backyard. So I've got plans. I do. I really, really do. I've got plans. Here is some of my attempt at homemade static grass. I'll show you a little piece of it here, a little chunk of it here, and I can see how this would be just a bit too heavy and clunky for a static grass applicator. I overestimated its ability to hold a static charge and therefore failed. But it's not going to go to waste. I'm going to use it. Less of the green and more of that natural sisal color, kind of a bleached out light tan sort of action happening there. So alright, I think it's about time to end my yakking. I want to thank you very much for watching. If you like this video, throw me a little thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed and you would like to, please feel free. Don't feel that it's necessary, but please, if you want to, go ahead. I would appreciate it greatly. Feel free to leave comments. I enjoy constructive criticism. That's how we learn stuff, is through people criticizing us. Although I'm usually my own worst critic, and you'll see more about that in the next video. Anyway, just leave a comment if you feel chatty. Go ahead. Have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments as well. Again, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, be well